bell the ball here.
Mm.
DanDaDan, because a
Episode
reminder,
7, 8. Episode 7 and 8, yeah.
episode 7 and 8, a reminder to the listener, we're a bi-weekly podcast.
Mm.
And so there's 2 weeks worth of DanDaDan that's we haven't talked about. And by the time you listen to this, another episode is around the corner. So, but the one that really seemed to set the internet ablaze is episode 7.
Mm. Yeah.
Uh, did you
Why is
see?
it always the IMDb ratings? Why is that like the first thing that comes
I
up
don't know.
when anything, a new episode of anime airs? Like it's, yeah, very
It's
strange argument, online argument.
so Grant's referencing the fact that episode 7 of Dan to Dan has a current, what, 9.8 rating on
I think,
IMDb.
is it 8? I thought it was 7. Like
It's
it doesn't matter,
it
but
is
yeah,
something absurd.
yeah, yeah.
I think, you know, so I don't want to detract from the episode at all, but just as a nitpick here, Grant, I will
Mm.
say, like, I think our rating systems, not ours personally, I think in general, the systems we use to track ratings is kind of inherently flawed
Sure.
because a good example, my anime list, IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, all these movies or all these platforms rather, you know, they're around like post internet and they're becoming ultra popular like in this weird social media like ultra online generational kind of peak moment we have.
Sure.
And this reminds me of like Frieren season one wasn't even over, and it's the highest rated anime of all time on my
Yeah.
anime list. And it was like,
Yeah.
okay, this might be a touch presumptuous,
Sure.
right? And then there's like some toxicity where like anytime Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood would get dethroned,
Mm.
fans would coordinate a mass rating review bomb to
Not
keep it at
everything.
number
Yeah.
one. And it's just like, okay, I think, and then sometimes, you look at like Rotten Tomatoes and like, I don't know, Shawshank Redemption is like 70%. And then
Sure.
like, I don't know, Wicked is 99. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, it's just like there's a heavy recency bias, I think, just because of the age of the demographic that use these tools.
Hmm.
Anyway, it's a total random tangent, but I loved episode 7 of Dan to Dan. I just don't know if it
Agree.
was absolute perfection.
No, like I think
It was
in
great
the
though.
moment, I will say like, because normally I have like I try to keep shows like, Dan to Dan, stuff that has like a tinge of there's like a nighttime allure to them. Like, like the setting,
Mm.
it's there's like a certain time of the day you want to watch it. I
Oh
definitely
yeah.
watched that too early in the day and I was like, oh, this feels like a little too heavy and dark for like the sun shining outside my window right now.
That's a good point.
So like not that like it overall like made the episode worse or anything like that, but it just I felt like, oh, I could have really enjoyed this a little more, like, setting and, experience and all that. But great episode. I think I'll be honest, like I'm not trying to like downplay a new character. Like I think that's kind of a problem. Not that I see it with Dan Dan, but like this type of genre, like the Shonen Jump formula or whatever. It's a handful of episodes that clearly like the two main characters, and then they throw in the third, then they throw in the fourth, and then by the time season one ends, you've like there's not a whole ton of story told because they've just spent all the effort
It's
like
set up,
introducing those
yeah.
four characters. And I'm already kind of like I do kind of feel that with Dan Dan a bit of like, oh, okay, like it's just, I'm sure there's some more major stuff is gonna happen. Like episode 8 was pretty great, setting up a big episode fights and whatnot, and for episode 9, but like all in the back of my head, all I can think of was like, oh, like we're just like taking steps, like meet another character. As
Yep.
much as like, the type, the OP shows as much and all the promotional photos and whatnot. But I don't know, like I'm looking forward to like when there's a season 2 and we have all this behind us. We have the
Hmm.
characters, we have the cast, and we can just focus on, maybe it's like a just problem of us watching so much anime now. Like we're doing all the seasonal stuff, like we're always checking out a new thing. Not that there's any fatigue, but it's like, yeah, like I'm looking forward to meeting everyone, but I want the story, like I want, and I don't know, it's like everyone should have their share and their fill and getting to know all the characters, but I don't know, I like Momo and I like Okurin, like the two of them, like I would have been
Hmm.
fine with just them, for the rest of the season kind of thing, but I don't know, bloat. I just feel like not it is bloated yet. But it's like, like, we're just already adding on layers and layers and layers when I feel like I should be getting to know them a little more still.
Right, right.
But and my only little gripe with episode 7 and 8, I think. But
Yeah, so I don't fully disagree with any of that. I think you have a point, like, um, and if you're a diehard anime fan, which there's a pretty good chance you are if you're listening to this, I think often, especially if like, you've been around the block, you've seen some anime, and
Hmm.
you're watching like seasonal stuff, that Grant is absolutely right in that like you can't tell me it doesn't feel derivative at times, right?
Sure.
Like there, we used to joke about, wow, it's pretty wild how Chainsaw Man feels exactly like Jujutsu Kaisen, and
Mm.
how, DanDaDan, at least in tone and theme and even in character design and environment and setting, it feels a lot like Mob Psycho sometimes.
Hmm.
It can be difficult not to see stuff you've already seen, and then you kind
Mm.
of know what's coming. And I thought episode 7 was probably among the strongest episodes they've had. Um, but at the same time, at the end of it, I was like, oh, that was just like killing a demon in Demon Slayer. I was like,
Yeah,
you know what I
it
mean? I was
did.
like,
It did feel like a slightly tonally off what we have seen so far.
you're definitely right
Like
about
yeah.
that.
So it's like not that that's a detract like a detractor in any way, but it's they've done such a good job like setting up this platform for what this show is. The loud, the colors, and like not there again, like, not that there wasn't any of that, but it's like, oh, this is like a very like total turn away from what they've
Yeah.
done so far. So it's
In the moment, and I had the benefit of watching this late at night, with the whole setup with the
Mhm.
glowing TV light thing
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
that, and that dancing, that ballet sequence with all the
yeah.
blue starry skies. That was pretty beautiful. And at the
Hmm.
time, this is crazy. I was half glass full and you were half glass empty. I was looking at it and I was like, wow, it's great to see that they can do more than one thing. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is impressive, like a tonal shift. But you're right, like it was very different from what they've done
Mm.
before.
Demon
And maybe
Slayer's fair. I
one.
didn't even think that. That's spot on. Like, Tanjiro's kind of ending of a demon there.
Yeah, you get the whole backstory. I thought it was sweet. At the time, I hadn't seen eight yet, obviously, but at the time, I was like, this is a lot of energy they're putting into just like a ghost that they're
Mm.
killing. And then I think episode 8 sets up the fact that it seems likely the pink hair girl, Ira, I think is her
Hmm.
name, I believe we'll get a transformation where she's probably borrowing the powers of that
A
ballet
similar curse
ghost thing,
situation. Yeah.
similar to an Okarun,
Mhm.
somewhat. I don't know, but that seems to be what they're teeing up. So I
I
don't
do
know.
love I do love the bit they're going with Era and like like Momo's a demon, Okarun's a demon, like like just very much like I'm the main character energy, which
Main
I thought
character
was like,
syndrome,
oh,
yeah.
I wonder if like how much they're gonna play into this or like she's gonna like get the but like no, like she's just kind of like keeping with it and pretty
Yeah,
fun. The opening scene of episode 8 of them like eating Momo and her arguing and like their mouths aren't moving. It's
I
almost like they're
know.
talking like through thought bubble as
Yeah,
there's stuff in their faces with noodles and all that. It's pretty
that was
funny.
creative
Yeah.
and
I did
fun.
love the Godzilla reference at the end of the episode. I thought that was super sick. When the Momo runs into like the lizard creature,
Oh, duh. Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah,
does the
yeah.
whole Shin Godzilla, like, breathing down into the ground and like, shooting the laser. I was
I
like, oh
was
my
watching that, and Sam was like, "What is that?" And I was like, "I think it's Godzilla." Like, I think
yeah,
that's
that's
what they're getting
100% what that
into.
is. Yeah, so
Yeah,
sick.
that was
I
pretty
had that I
funny.
had that spoiled for me before I saw the episode. I was like, oh
Oh,
wow.
really?
Yeah, well, not even spoiled. I just like I saw the clip and I was like, oh, what show is that? And then it cuts to Momo kind of tucked away, and I'm like, oh, it's DanDaDan. I should probably get on that because that's clearly some Godzilla stuff there. So,
That's funny.
but yeah, DanDaDan. I'm kind of
Um,
bummed that we only have like 4 weeks left. It's
I
almost
know
done.
this whole thing with these shows being 12 episodes is such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Like I'm just thinking about, I don't know why. I think maybe just my algorithm is doing it, but I've been seeing a lot of clips on Chainsaw Man. I'm like, man,
Mm,
that was a good one.
so good.
And like it was a while ago, and it was so short-lived
Mm.
because like cut back to what you said a minute ago. Episode 12 is, you get more than intros, but like a lot of it is just like setup
Hmm.
about what's the show about.
Mm.
So I don't know.
Well,
I'm excited.
to my earlier point, like I think Chainsaw Man is like the perfect example of, not like again, we loved the first season and I really, really dug it. And just based on like what I've read in the manga, like that first 12 episodes of content in the manga is very much set up. And then once they kind of get all like clearly the main cast out of the way, then like the story can like really explode. And it
Right.
100% does that. And then like that's what's coming with the movie, this year. So like that's what I'm looking forward to with Dan and like what and same thing like Sakamoto Days is coming out in January. I'm super
That'll be a
excited
big
for
one.
that. Same thing, like, I guarantee you, I can picture exactly what the first 12 episodes are going to be. It's all going to be set up. I think maybe this is just a Shonen Jump thing. Like, it's their formula. Like, they gotta keep viewers reading and whatnot.
It definitely feels formulaic
But the
sometimes.
second they're going to hit that 12 episode point, it just the story just really jumps away and like this whole
Take
world
some
kind of
left
opens up
turns.
even yeah, even not even left turns, but just it just opens up where they don't have to put so much attention into like,
Right.
learning or introducing these characters and learning about these characters. Like we know them at this point. So yeah, I don't know. Are you gonna read Dan to Dan?
No. I
No.
think no, and nothing against it.
Yeah.
I just I'm we haven't talked about this much or at all actually. I am halfway through Berserk Volume 2.
Hmm.
Do you have yours yet?
I do not. I was reading yours a bit the other night.
Oh boy, buddy. Yeah, I think like that property just has me by the cojones.
Yeah,
Like if there's anything I want to read, all I want to do is read Berserk.
fair enough.
Like it's all I want. And you and I have talked about this too. Like there may come a point. I've got Jujutsu Kaisen on the mind.
Mm,
For like, did we just say screw it and read that one? But
sure.
I don't know. We'll see. Um, yeah, one thing at a time. Um, okay, the other big thing. I made a commitment. I said I would do it. I
Proud of
finished
you,
The
buddy.
Penguin.
Yeah, buddy. How do you feel?